All right, and we're on. Cool. So, yesterday I watched Grand Isle, which was a pain in the fucking ass, and I hate myself for watching it, let alone working on it. That was no fun. So today I decided to take a suggestion from a friend of mine named Lee. He and I have correspondence through the internet. He's a Canadian fellow that recommended a movie to me called Hesher, and I found it on the Roku TV channel. And it's a movie that came out a couple of years ago. I don't really know much about it other than that it's about a metalhead guy, and he said it edited kind of chaotic and showed me like a brief clip of it. It looked pretty interesting. Looked a little bit like a metal version of Scott Pilgrim from First Impression, but I'll leave the judgment till post. Whatever that fucking means. Yeah, I'm a little tired today. I had to go, speaking of posts, install a fucking railing, which I didn't have the right tools for, so I got to go back and do it all over again tomorrow. But at least I have all the supplies. That's fun. Don't hire a line cook to be a handyman. It's not a good fucking look. There's there's a couple things that is my wheelhouse, and handyman work is like not. I'm getting better, but it's not my forte. I mounted a television. Actually, I mounted two TVs in the room I'm sitting in, so my studio would have more of a sense of completion than look a little more legit. So I could trade stocks on my computer and watch TV on the wall, and then hopefully install a security system one of these days so I can watch that on the other monitor. I just got a nice little DIY setup back here, and then I started doing a little bit of work at the restaurant, just installing like curtains and some hanging baskets and shit. And boss asked me to install a railing, and that's not really my wheelhouse, man. I don't know jack shit about working with cement, but I gave it a shot, and I brought the wrong drill, so shit's gonna happen. But around the house, I'm cool, proficient. But anything further than that is kind of like you should probably call someone for that. So I'm covered in cement and a little stoned, a little sunburnt. So it's a good mix. But now I'm back home, hanging out in the office. Hesher's should be a fun one. I'm not entirely sure about metal movies because there was that Lords of Chaos movie that was on Hulu, and I guess it was about like some shit that was actually going on, and I haven't seen it. I have not had the privilege of seeing it, but I've seen a lot of my metalhead friends like picking that fucking movie apart. And I'm not sure the accuracy of it. From what it seems is that they got a lot of shit wrong about Scandinavian metalheads. There's a big problem over there, I guess a couple of decades ago, if not a little bit sooner than that. But they were running pretty wild and taking their shit very seriously. So like there was the music element of it, which is pretty, it's death metal. It's not exactly the most savory if you don't like it. So I get where people are already intimidated by the music that's being, played by these bands. But then there was like this subculture of people that were like also like burning churches and like doing human sacrifice to a certain extent and shit. And it's got like a little air of like Scandinavia in it too. So that's just even more frightening. Like a bunch of blonde-haired, blue-eyed fucking people with their skin painted and fucking hair dyed and shit. Like, not exactly not exactly the most friendly or welcoming. But I mean, hey, the music's all right. I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure that one band, Mayhem, where the guy shot himself. I think one of the guitarists or the singer or whatever. The dude shot himself, and then one of his bandmates found him and snapped a picture of it, and I guess stole his brain because he blew his brains out in a bathtub with a shotgun. And there's a rumor that they used the photo that the guy snapped as one of their album covers on the next or a subsequent album. And then there was an urban myth that the guy's brain was Ziploc baggied and brought around with them on tour, and eventually they ate it on stage, which I don't think that's true. But if it is, that's probably the most metal thing you could fucking do. I mean, shooting yourself in the face with a shotgun's pretty metal, but eating your buddy that shot himself's brain in front of a crowd of people that want to just punch each other and curb stomp each other is pretty fucking gnarly. That's some shit. So yeah, I don't really know what to expect from this. Movies with music is kind of a weird thing for me because I tend to fancy like punk rock and some other peripheral things. Like I like a little bit of hardcore because I'm from the Northeast. Hardcore bands every party has one. You show up and they're just playing fucking like D beat and fucking doom music, and I mean it's fun, but you know it gets old kind of quick when they start attracting like all these like maladjusted fucking 28-year-olds that just want to punch people in the face and start shit in the pit. So you end up with that shit going on. But yeah, I also like ska, which is fun to play. Dumb as fuck, really silly. There's like some, like Leftover Crack, and then there's bands Sebenak, Operation Ivy, all these bands that I know that are like they're ska, but they're like a little bit harder, for what it's worth. But yeah, the music I gravitate towards is pretty much like punk music in a sense, and the movies that I gravitate towards also kind of have that punk authenticity to it. So big fan of like. SLC Punk's a great example. That's a nice, fun indie film from '99, if I'm not mistaken, if not a little earlier. It's got Matthew Lillard in it and Shooter McGavin, Christopher, what's his name? McDonald, I think. Christopher McDonald, is that the guy? Yeah, that guy, Shooter McGavin. But yeah, like that's a fun movie. Just kind of being about like weird story kind of set amongst punks, which is fun. There's, I guess, Repo Man. That's one of my favorites as well. It's got a nice cameo by Keith Morris and some of the Circle Jerks. They play a song in a club dressed up like, like a nightclub band, but they're playing a song called fucking Shit Hits the Fan, and they're doing like a nice acoustic club cover of it, which is pretty funny. Yeah, like, so I enjoy movies. I'm trying to think of a third one off the top of my head. There's a lot of documentaries that are out there that are pretty good too. Like American Hardcore is fucking awesome. There's one, the Decline of Western Civilization's alright. Penelope Spheris did a good job on 1 and 3. I hate the fucking metal years. Everybody sucks its dick because there's the one guy that's in a swimming pool drinking fucking whiskey, and his mom's right there talking about what a fuck up he is. And they're like, oh my god, it's so compelling. It's like, go fuck yourself. They're all fucking chicks with fucking dicks. That's what they really are. They walk around with fucking more hair product in them than their girlfriends, and they like get fucking naked and wear spandex around each other. Like, what the fuck? That's not metal. That's just like some egotistical LA shit. And like, yeah, like you can have that, but I don't understand why it needs to be documented, or at least to the extent it did. But yeah, everybody loves part 2, 1 and 3, all fucking day, baby. And not even all of 1. 1 has 2 really, really good fucking scenes that are basically the beginning and the end of the movie. The opening band is Black Flag, but it was pre-Rollins, so it was this fucking guy. God damn, he's got a real fucking Spanish last name. Ron Reyes, is that his name? I think. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, they play a couple songs, and he talks about how like they basically are a punk band that just when he runs out of money, he just goes and fucks girls and like steals their money or whatever. That's pretty funny. And then Leaving and Fear, the only band to ever be kicked off of Saturday Night Live as a musical act. Yeah, they're the punctuation of it, and starts with like about 10 minutes of pre-roll with them just fighting their fucking fans, which is great. And Lee's just saying a bunch of shit. He's like shoving around fucking people, kicking people. It's a good time. I highly recommend The Decline if you have the opportunity to see it. I own the box set. It's on Amazon for like $40. Worth the grab. And I think they have Blu-rays of it now too. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And it's Penelope Spheris, pre-Wayne's World. But yeah, she's got a pretty good way of doing things, except for Suburbia. I hate that fucking movie so fucking much just because it's like I can't get into it. It's not anything I identify with, and it kind of has been one of those points of like I'm supposed to like this because it reflects what I see, but like if it doesn't reflect me or my outlook or any of my what I listen to this music for, it's just like this kind of like limp dick whining like we're looking to like subvert utopia or whatever. It's not like it's on the nose and it's kind of stupid. I'll stick with Wayne's World if I want to watch some of her drama fucking comedies or whatever. But yeah, all this going back towards Hesher. Hesher, I don't know much about it other than, like I said, metalheads. Metalheads are pretty, coincidental with punks, so, I know my fair share of them. Tend to be funny, tend to be a little too serious for me once in a while because they take shit seriously, like both on stage and off, like don't really shed the makeup once they leave it, even if they're not in it. So I'll take that for what it's worth. But I trust Lee a lot, and I have faith that he knows his movies well enough that he'd point me in the right direction with this one. So without further ado, I am going to watch Hesher. Check. We're on. All right. Yeah, there we go. Little fucking, yeah, right. Yeah, that was a good movie. That was a really fucking fun movie. Um, yeah, well done, Lee. I'm gonna give you a nice little round of applause for that. Well done for everybody involved in that film because it was really good. It had Rainn Wilson was the only other guy besides Joseph Gordon-Levitt and well, I guess Natalie Portman's in it too. There's not many people in this movie that I recognized, which is kind of cool. The big name actors did what they needed to do. So no gripes there. It wasn't really anything to it didn't take on anything where it was trying to be anything it wasn't. It was very well fucking made for what it was. The fucking film is chaos and I love it. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was marketed to me just by my buddies like, yeah, just watch it, you'll fucking dig it. And sure enough, he was right. Yeah, so where to start with this one? Story's pretty simple. Just a kid who fucking stumbles upon a crazy guy, and then the crazy guy moves in with him against his will, and then ends up like, kind of like backhandedly fixing his life up a little bit and like repairing a relationship with his father after his mom dies, and then subsequently his grandmother croaks too, which is like the chemistry though is that you get to know the guy kind of through how he interacts with the family. And as a guy that kind of goes his own way, it's fun to see like, oh yeah, he's like just kind of living his own life, but in doing so, like he evokes like positive changes in people. Like the kid finds a little bit more balls and gumption, takes initiative, and then yeah, it just kind of goes off the rails from there. I don't care about spoiling anything. Go fuck yourselves with that. But yeah, no, it's good. Go check it out. This would actually, yeah, give me a pretty good opportunity to draw parallels to stuff I've seen. So this movie, and I'm not gonna say it's an outright rip, but this movie was definitely an inspiration for the source material. Clearly for that Jonah Hill movie mid '90s. I've never heard of Hesher. Hesher just kind of like it popped up on Prime a couple of months ago, and someone Lee I guess told me to watch it. But like I looked at it and I was like, maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like whatever. I liked him on Third Rock from the Sun. I never saw that movie he made where he's got a porn addiction. But I've heard it's pretty good. Don John or something. But Long John Silver. But yeah, he did great in this film. But yeah, Jonah Hill made that mid '90s movie a couple of years back, and like everybody was really sucking its dick. And for what it's worth, it is a good movie. It's entertaining. If you were a little skate rat in the '90s, it's well worth checking out. You can recognize a few pros that get peppered into the film. The kid, I guess, is pretty popular in Thrasher and other social media shit now. I guess he's a skater. I mean, clearly he's in the film skateboarding, so I guess he skates. And Jonah Hill's apparently had a pretty big passion for skateboarding, despite looking like a watermelon most of his life. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's an alright movie. But that being said, like I'd like to just compare the two because they approach similar beats, and I kind of think that Jonah Hill in many ways drew his films like inspiration and motifs I guess would be the right word, from this film, and it really shows. But this film, for what it's worth, is far more effective at it because it's not trying to be something. It is what it is, and you can see that. You don't have to think too hard about why the characters are doing what they're doing. They're just everybody except Joseph Gordon-Levitt is just basically reacting to his behavior, and his behavior is just chaos, and that's all there is to it. And in him formulating chaos, like the people's reactions are really like what dictate their behavior. So it's just this like cause effect, like it doesn't become like pattern or routine or boring. Sorry, my phone's going the fuck off. But yeah, like there's a ton of shit that is just like, it hits beats very naturally where this guy just kind of like does his own thing, but in doing so it motivates the plot. It keeps them interested and engaged with this character. Like, I mean, the audiences as well. You kind of are seeing the entire movie through the kid's perspective. TJ is, I believe, the kid's name. So yeah, you're seeing it through TJ's like perspective, or at least most of the film is done like via him, like you're the fly on the wall for his life. And there's a couple of isolated scenes with just Joseph Gordon-Levitt and just the dad, and who's Rainn Wilson from The Office. He does pretty good. I thought of him as being like a little too silly in that The Rocker movie, but this was like more dialed back. He plays like a real depressed dad, which is fucking great. He does it. He does it to a fucking T, and he's perfect. He's perfectly cast for this role. Like just the way that they play off of his behavior, off of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's behavior is fantastic, because that's really what you want to see. There's not like this underlying, like there's no message to the movie that, is apparent. I guess like familial bonds are kind of formed in ways you're not expecting. Like even your family, like you guys might be like divergent or on different paths or not identify with one another, and your goals or dreams even. But the discord, there's still family. You're still bonded by that, and sometimes it takes like a little fucking chaos and like a little something to make you drawn closer together, and it ultimately pays off in this film, and I like it. I'm not gonna keep sucking its dick, but yeah, it did fucking great. It was an entertaining movie, and the message was very clear. Now, with that in mind, mid '90s. I liked it, but like I said, it's muddled. It's very student filmy. It's like you are also following around a young character who is a little unsure about himself and what he wants in life. And you're it's like a fly on the wall thing as well. And he's got the same familial issues that ultimately kind of go unresolved. And that whole plot line in that film peters out, whereas this one, it's like very convenient. It ends perfectly. It ends like in a way where you're satisfied, whereas that film, it's just kind of like left into this ambiguous thing of like, oh well, now he's got his friends, but it doesn't really solve any of the problems at home, which doesn't bother me, but it's like, like why even bother at that point? Like, it builds drama, but it just kind of comes off very like not fleshed out in the ways that you would expect it to. Also the mid '90s, it's like that chaos isn't isolated. It's like it's not distinct from what's just going on. Like there's this scene where the brother beats him up or whatever. He's chasing him around, and then like a couple beats later in the film, like there's a scene where he's hanging out in front of the skate shop or whatever, and the brother comes by, and then one of the skater kids starts like trying to get him to swing on him so that they can scrap. And it's like one of those scenes where that is like the chaos, but it's not like really like there's not. It comes off as more like juvenile, and like this. And what's great is that Hesher is a juvenile film. There's fucking dirty jokes. He says fucked up shit at dinner. The analogy at the end at the funeral is fucking brilliant about losing his nut, and like. Him walking around he's telling dirty jokes to the grandma. He teaches her how to use a bong. It's fucking glorious, and it's charming. It's charming, and everything that mid '90s sets out to accomplish with like it plays off of nostalgia. It has no charm. It's just presenting you with this like almost like borderline. It's like a narrative, so it's like it's a fictional narrative that is too, but it's like trying like forcing it to almost be like a documentary about how dumb this kid's life is, and then you like are like, okay, cool, so he hangs out with skaters that are interesting, but like you're doing it vicariously through him, which still sucks, and it's like all you want to do is go back and hang out with the skaters. Maybe that's like the motif that Jonah Hill's going for, but this one, it's like Hesher, the kid doesn't want Joseph Gordon-Levitt anywhere near him for most of the film, and it's like the charm and the wit comes from that. Like there's one part where he's trying to cheer him up, so he goes and lights his bully's car on fire, and then runs him over with a car. Like it's like I'm still giggling about it. It's fucking great. Or like all the fucking mid '90s did was they bring the kid up on a roof and he falls off and they call him badass, and then it creates this like internal power struggle. Oh, and the Natalie Portman character too. The Natalie Portman character, there's not like a love interest that he can like ascertain. Like it's just a crush, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt fucks Natalie Portman after his grandma dies. So you got like this weird, like it's not a triangle, but it's like, yo, like that's the logical thing. Like what'd you expect, kid? You've been stalking her, you're like decade younger than her. Like, nah, it's you got a crush, and your buddy just fucked your crush. So it blows. It's one of those like we've all been there, buddy. But it's done in a way where it like actually ties everything at the end together nicely. It sets everything up very well. Whereas like the mid '90s kid, he just goes to a party and gets his dick touched, and then doesn't understand like how to be drunk because he's 12. And you're just like, okay, like that's fucked up. Like he should probably be doing his homework or something. I mean, it's cool. It's cool that he's getting brought to this party and shit. But like, I don't know. Like it's just, I have my qualms about that movie. Jonah Hill did a good job. It's very student filmy though, and I can't express it enough. I've seen so many fucking student films going to film school that I hate when somebody does something. And like A24 is not guilty of it, but they do put out a lot of shit that's borderline student filmy, just because it's like in the guise of like artiste. Like they just have some director that's got draw, and they want to do a puff like kind of one of their like what's it called when they do like a piece for like a film for their own self gratification. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. Every time I saw him smoke pot, I pretty much went upstairs and smoked pot myself. And it made this film much more it was enjoyable on its own sober, but like I was like, all right, fuck yeah, I'm with it. But fuck, like, I'm trying to think of what that shit's called. Yeah, just like something for your own self gratification. That's kind of what it felt like, and it's a student filmy thing to do, where you just make something and you're like, it's automatically regarded as art because you're just like, oh, like that, and then it's got this added layer of nostalgia, which like I've learned from a pretty young age that like all you really need to do is not like season too heavily with nostalgia, and you'll get the desired effect you want. Case in point being the Turbo Kid. That movie came out alongside of this other movie called Kung Fury, and they were both kind of paying an homage back to like 80s like over the top action like kung fu like fighting films that are set in like dystopian like futures that are relatively closer and like have surpassed like the time that we're presently in. So like Kung Fury sucked a bag of dicks, looked like shit, and everybody sucks its dick. But then Turbo Kid looks like something that in another walk of life could have easily been done by like George Miller or like possibly John Carpenter. But it's so silly that it carries its own like weight and has its own distinct thing. Whereas like, so like that's kind of what mid '90s did. It just like it relied so heavily on the nostalgia, where you had to have been like between the ages like 11 and 15 in 1996. And I was like roughly that age. It wasn't quite my wheelhouse. Like I was like cool, but like I was a little too young for that. I wasn't really like I was a little too involved in more grounded shit. My mom wouldn't let me go hang out at a skate shop all day. I had to go play soccer and marching band and fucking tug my dick behind a dumpster or whatever the fuck I did when I was 11. But yeah, I digress. Like so the nostalgia, like there's nostalgia to this too. Hesher's nostalgia though is just like if you knew one chaotic like metalhead in high school, you will fucking love the character. Like the character is perfect. It's no like added fucking parts needed. It was awesome. Dude that drives a van is borderline homeless, and he just kind of does whatever the fuck he wants. Lighting shit on fire, pool hopping. He fucking like if you knew somebody like that, like that you couldn't like bring to a party because you knew they were gonna end up like breaking a window or fucking stealing something because they thought it was funny, or like beating someone up just because they thought it was funny. It's like this is it, and there's like this air that they set the tone perfectly. There's just this like slight like ever present like metal like guitar riff or like a little background metal in the perfect way where like you just kind of always knew when that guy was coming around because it's like, oh yeah, Motorhead's on, like where the fuck is Josh or whatever. You know that, like you know that guy, and it's fucking great, and you're like it's not overly like it's not overt, it's like so subdued that you're like it doesn't rely on that nostalgia for it to be interesting and relatable. It just, you had to have had that friend, and everybody has that friend. You didn't have to be such a like niche fucking you didn't have to have like such a niche fucking oh man, I'm running out of words again. Fucking fucking legalize marijuana in this state, my podcast drops the fuck off. But yeah, anyway, No, it appeals to a more broader audience. You didn't have to be a metalhead to like this. You didn't have to be a guy like a juvie to fucking like it either. You just had to kind of have known someone peripherally that was like that, and then you could see the humor in it. And also, like, you can kind of know Natalie Portman's character, like chick that doesn't really know her worth, that's like feeling herself out. And that's like also fucking relatable from a female perspective. Like, oh, I feel uncomfortable, but this guy for some reason is like interested in me. And then like she befriends the little kid because the little kid just is like she saves him. And I guess he's like someone that'll listen to her. It's fucking great. Like everybody can identify with that shit. You didn't have to be a fucking, someone in something at some time. Like it's relatable. And I like that. I'm going to quit fucking saying relatable though. Yeah, let me wrap this up. So yeah, Hesher was pretty fucking good. Mid-90s was like okay, but side by side, I'd take Hesher all fucking day. I have to admit, there's something about films where, I say that somebody has to be a little bit passionate about the writing and a little bit passionate about this, or a little, just have a little zest of like life. This felt like a person that just knew exactly what they were doing. I'm not entirely sure what else the guy made. I haven't IMDb'd it, but the dude that directed and wrote it, I'm unfamiliar with, but well fucking played. You did a fucking good job fucking making this seem like something that you had your heart and soul invested into, and that's all I fucking ask of a fucking movie, is just make something you're passionate about. Goddamn Avatar, like at least fucking Michael Bay, yeah, it was Michael Bay, I think. Yeah, Michael Bay fucking was like, he knew what he wanted. He wanted to make the biggest fucking action movie that you could fucking make. Like his passion was behind it. It was a kind of whack movie, and may or may not have been Fern Gully, but like at least he really wanted to fucking do that, and it was like it shows. It makes for a good film. Like, so I'm not like knocking fucking big budget movies, but on like a more micro level, this isn't something that just felt like some dipshits that were trying to get a fucking payday where they could skim money off of a production budget. Like this felt like an actual movie that had heart and soul, and it showed. And it, like, I don't know what else really you could expect. I've been, after watching Grand Isle, where I worked on that movie, and I just could care less about telling people I worked on that. Like, I'm not comfortable pointing that out of a fucking, the stack and being like, yeah, I worked on that, we should watch it. It's like, nah, that's not good. I would avoid that at all costs. Then my name's in it, and like that should be something, like there's nothing going on. This movie was like busy, it was interesting, it had likable characters, it had a story arc, it had fucking well fleshed out humor that the callbacks, it's self-referencing, it doesn't take itself too seriously while also giving a good message. I don't know how much more you could want from a fucking movie that looked like it was made for roughly like $5 million, and it was from 2010 too. It's been around for 11 fucking years. I can't believe I haven't fucking given this the time of day yet, and I'm happy that I got a chance to watch it. But yeah, after watching that dog shit yesterday, this was a pleasant change of pace. So I'm giving 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. And Lee, if you got any more suggestions, I'm taking them off you. Maybe Jim Bob Siemens too, because I see he watched the channel. But yeah, Camille, fucking, I'll watch Underwater shortly. I gotta find a way to get it. No, I'm not gonna confuse it with Stowaway again this time. But yeah, I'll give something else a shot. If anybody else got if anybody else has some suggestions, please feel free to fucking just drop them on my page. Thanks for listening.